Tomorrow, it's 100 days into President Trump's second term in office. His top negotiators met at the Capitol yesterday to discuss what's next for the Republicans' mega bill and tax cuts. There are the, what did it used to be, a group of seven? What were those? The gang of, it's the gang of six, or the Magnificent Seven, Magnificent Six, and we've got one. Ways and Means Committee Chairman, maybe the best of all of them, Jason Smith, who was part of that meeting. Chairman, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you as always.
I want you to tell me everything you know, because everything that I want to ask you, I don't think we know anything. We don't know what's in it. We don't know when it's going to be doable. We don't know when the write-ups are, when the final votes are. Is there anything you can tell us definitively right now, or at least give the handicap what's happening, what's in it, and when it's going to be?
Absolutely, Joe. I will tell you that when it comes to markup and seeing bill text and legislation moving forward, we're days away, not months. We're going to provide that certainty to the markets, the certainty, the small businesses, the certainty to the families that they're going to have a very aggressive pro-growth tax bill that makes permanent Trump's expiring tax provisions from the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, but also delivering on his campaign promises when it comes to no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax relief for seniors. These are all things that will be in this bill moving forward.
Some of that pay for was going to be letting the top rate go back up. Now that's off the table. Is there any other way to make it less, causing less addition to the deficit?
First off, Joe, let me say that as the tax writer, the Ways and Means chairman, I've been reading a lot of news reports talking about we're going to do X, Y, and Z, whether it's a top bracket, whether it's SALT, whether it's various IRA credits. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And so there's been a lot of reporting and a lot of hysterical releases that's been out there that's just simply not accurate. When this bill comes out, Joe, people will see exactly what it is. We're going to have a pro-growth tax bill that the markets will love and that the markets will appreciate, which the small businesses will love, the small businesses will appreciate, because it's going to be extremely pro-growth and it's going to be led by pro-growth tax policies.
All right, then, that would hurt small businesses if you went from 37 back to 30. And the president, can you say that's been put to, that's not going to happen? President Trump said that's not going to happen. Can you tell me that at least?
Joe, what I will say is the tax bill is all about growth, and people can extrapolate what pro-growth is, but we are going to deliver real tax relief for businesses, small businesses, working families, and farmers. It is going to be pro-growth, and the markets will love it.
Chairman Smith, we had Libby Cantrell here from PIMCO yesterday, and she said exactly that this is going to be a very pro-growth bill that is put forward. I asked her what that meant, if it means that there's not going to be pay-fors for these things if it expands the deficit, and she said yes, she believes that's the case. Is that what you see it as well?
There's absolutely going to be provisions that eliminate bad tax policy and replacing it with better tax policy. We did that in 2017. We're going to do it throughout this process.
But
we're
will
going
it
to
expand
eliminate
the
a
deficit?
lot of different loopholes.
Will it expand the deficit?
It will. The House budget version is much different than the Senate budget version. And in fact, we are going to expand the growth in the economy. And that's the key. If you look at the revenues coming into our country right now under the current Trump tax cuts that are current policy, current law, GDP towards revenue is 17.2%. If you look at over the last 50 years, it has averaged 17%. We are going to maintain and grow that.
My question, though, is will it expand the deficit? Because you describe pro-growth as market-friendly. Markets definitely want to see lower taxes. But if it expands the deficit, that could be something that worries the bond market.
Well, let me tell you, the deficit is only expanded by spending. If you look at over the last 5 years, when you look at spending to GDP, it has averaged 26% of GDP. The 45 years before that, spending to GDP averaged 20%. 20%. We have a spending problem. We do not have a revenue problem. What I'm working on in the tax bill is in regards to the revenues that go into our coffers. Since we passed the 2017 successful Trump tax cuts, the corporate revenue receipts, even at a 21% rate, when we went from 35 to 21, has only increased dramatically. We are going to have pro-growth policies that's going to increase the revenue for our country.
I understand that, and I get what you're saying. That I agree with your math on that in terms of.
Well, how will it be scored? It'll be scored that the deficit goes up.
Will it extend the deficit?
It'll be scored that way, right, Congressman? You can do fuzzy math, so it'll be scored that way, that the deficit goes up.
Let me just say how congressional scorekeepers are. Just eliminating the $22 billion that is left from the Inflation Reduction Act for the IRS. Remember, there was $80 billion. There's $22 billion that has not been spent. Just to eliminate that, according to those congressional scorekeepers, it would cost us $65 billion. So the scorekeepers sometimes just don't put apples and oranges together.
Okay.
What I'm saying is the revenues are going to increase and the growth is going to be exponential.
You would hope, but those are, whether they're right or wrong, when it is scored, probably you're going to see that go. What about Medicare and Medicaid and the numbers thrown around? Do you have a better idea of what it's going to be? Somewhere around $900 billion. What is that over 10 years? And then there's arguments about whether it's a cut in the projected growth of Medicaid, not in the program itself. But then there's others that say you'd have to cut or do some, I don't know, right to work or whatever. You'd have to do some things to get existing payouts would have to be cut, not just future growth. Can you explain it? And how do you get all the Republicans on board with that? Some of the ones that might want to cut more, or some of the ones in districts that are at risk that might want to cut less?
Joe, you hit the big challenge at hand. It's threading that needle because we have some members on various different issues, whether it's spending cuts, whether it's different tax provisions. We have to thread that needle. We have to get that balance. There's 11 different committees that is part of this big, beautiful bill, as the president would say. And the committee that is completely over Medicaid is Energy and Commerce. Our committee, of course, is completely over the revenues, the tax provisions. There's a lot of things that the Energy and Commerce Committee is that they can look at and that they are looking at. One thing that could be a revenue raiser within Energy and Commerce's space is selling spectrum. This is one thing that's within theirs that can bring in a lot of money that's not being projected. The president has been crystal clear. When he's looking at this bill and spending cuts, he wants to make sure that he protects individuals' benefits. He said that you would not cut Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid. But are there efficiencies that can be put in there? Absolutely. One thing that has been raised numerous times is work requirements, but this is all within the Energy and Commerce's space. I'm not an expert in it. I'm focused on the $4.5 trillion tax bill, but it's all going to add up in the ultimately end.
But just that it was a big ask. Sounds like I'm saying something else. It was a big ask to be able to extend. I mean, there's a reason that those the 2017 bill wasn't permanent. Jason, you remember that? It's because it was a deficit buster, and everybody's been worried. How do you extend it? And not only are you extending it, but you're getting all these other tax cuts that you're putting in too, and you're still saying that it's not going to be a deficit buster. And the numbers are just troubling for and I know no one worries about the deficit. You look at how Biden spent, and we know we can, with the reserve currency of the world, we can get it done. But do you not worry that history's going to look back and say there they go again, both parties just blow out? I mean, you're counting on growth, but the numbers probably don't lie.
So let's just look at this, Joe. Just in the 4 years of the Biden presidency, he added more than $10 trillion to the deficit. That's almost a third
it's their
of
fault.
where
I
we're
understand.
at. But the markets wasn't talking about
you're
that.
opening yourself up to the same issue. When will it actually be signed, Mr. Chairman? You think it's in the summer or all the way out into the fall?
You know, I don't have a crystal ball, but what my goal as the chief tax writer is to have it delivered for the American people by July 4th. I think that that's very doable. And as long as we continue to work hand in glove with the United States Senate, which we have been, we'll be able to accomplish this. The American people are expecting this. We're going to provide imminent growth and tax policies that are transformational. When you look at the 2017 tax cuts, Joe, that you were talking about, there was numerous provisions within that were permanent, such as the corporate tax rate was permanent from 35 to 21%. Okay. In this tax bill, there will be numerous things that are made permanent. Not everything, but numerous items will be, because we're looking at the debt, the deficits. It's extremely important. The House is more focused on that than the other side of the building.
Well, the 37 will be permanent then on the top rate.
We're going to have pro-growth tax policies that you're going to love.
God.